Hello students, here is a solved case-based question on topic primary and secondary immune responses. The case is based on the given graph showing the immune responses to antigen A and antigen B. Study the graph and answer the given questions. Their answers are: first, answer of part A, types of immune responses to antigen A and antigen B. Weeks after first exposure to antigen A, this is showing primary immune response to antigen A, while weeks after second exposure to antigen A, this is showing secondary immune response to antigen A. First exposure to antigen B, this is showing primary immune response to antigen B. Next, answer of part B, why concentration of antibodies decline after about 5 weeks in first exposure to antigen A. First exposure to antigen activates T and B cells of lymphocytes. B cells produces memory cells and plasma cells. These plasma cells, they produce antibodies while memory cells are long-lived. Here, concentration of antibodies decline after 5 weeks due to decline of plasma cells because at this time antigen A has been eliminated and no antibody is needed. Answer of part C, compare the peak concentration of antibodies during first and second exposure to antigen A. Second peak is higher than the first peak because second response is highly intensified and quick due to the presence of memory B cells. These memory B cells converted to plasma cells and these plasma cells produce 100 to 1000 times more antibodies as compared to antibodies produced during the first exposure. So, concentration of antibodies produced during second exposure is more than antibodies produced during the first exposure. This is the last question. There is a choice in part C. Here you have to compare the immune responses shown in the graph. There are two types of responses shown in the graph: primary immune response and secondary immune response. Now check the differences between the two. Here it occurs due to first exposure with antigen, while secondary immune response occurs due to subsequent exposure to same antigen. In primary immune response, B and T lymphocytes are activated, while in secondary immune response, memory cells are activated. Here in primary immune response, it takes longer time to establish immunity, while secondary immune response takes short time to establish immunity. In primary immune response, amount of antibodies produced in low amount, while in secondary immune response 100 to 1000 times more antibodies are produced. In primary immune response, antibodies level decline rapidly, while in secondary immune response, antibodies level remain high for longer time. And last difference, this response, primary immune response, is of low intensity, while secondary immune response is of high intensity. It is highly intensified response. So that's all for today. Thank you very much for staying with me. Subscribe the channel to get the information about my new video. Thank you so much.